The old covenant is like the new covenant, but taken to the extreme. It's like the old covenant on steroids. Paul says that the old covenant is a shadow of what is to come, a shadow of the new covenant. That's like an outline of it, but without any details. And Jesus says that the old covenant is a prophecy. That's like a glimpse from God of the future that we're now in. For example, in the old covenant, God's Spirit dwelled in a single place in the temple. But now each of us is God's temple, and his Spirit dwells in each person who's in the new covenant. And instead of a few people getting baptized and becoming priests, now we all get baptized and we are all priests. We're a royal priesthood, a holy nation. And instead of there being like a list of laws that's applicable to specific circumstances, God writes his law on our hearts, and we know what to do in every circumstance because the Holy Spirit lives inside of us. And instead of just the Israelites being in a land flowing with milk and honey, he has given prosperity to all of his children that to an extent never before seen in the history of the world. And that prosperity has overflowed and blessed every single person on the planet. And instead of a few prophets going around and healing the sick and giving people messages from God, now all the people in the new covenant heal the sick, cast out demons, prophesy, do all kinds of miracles because the Holy Spirit lives inside of us. And instead of people being taught about God by a few teachers or teachers of the law or scholars, everyone from the least to the greatest in the new covenant knows God personally because his Spirit lives inside of us. And instead of going and making offerings to God when we sin, when we mess up, Jesus made a sacrifice that covers all our sin once and for all, and we can boldly approach God's throne and ask for forgiveness without being punished. And instead of striving in our flesh to obey God's laws, God made us a brand new person. We got born again, and we're given the power of the Holy Spirit to keep the law of Christ at all times, which is to love God and love people with everything we've got. And instead of it being hard, it's actually pretty easy. And instead of giving 1/10 of our money to God as a tithe, we give our entire lives as a living sacrifice to him. We surrender everything we have and everything we are to God for him to do with it whatever he wants. And in turn, he gives us an easy yoke, a light burden, because we surrendered everything to him and became his children, and he loves us.